After months of working on this R1, I finally got it to start. In the previous episode, I got the front of the engine completely reassembled. I gave the bike an oil service and I installed an immobilizer emulator so I could get the bike to start up for the very first time. So after I got the bike to run in the last episode, I noticed that we had a bit of an oil leak coming from our oil cooler. So it seems like the oil is coming out from somewhere around this area here because it's dripping down and then landing on the other side, as you guys can see. So I think it might be the O-ring. So I'm gonna fire the bike up and try and pinpoint where the oil is coming from, if it's actually over here or somewhere along the oil cooler over there. So let's start up the bike and try and see where it's leaking. I also just want to hear this thing run, guys, because this thing sounds so good. Okay guys, I think I have a better idea after playing the video back. So I don't see anything coming out from around here where the O-ring would be, but it seems to be coming out from somewhere around over there. So where this guy meets this part of the oil cooler. So I think maybe when I was fiddling to try and get this thing fitted, we might have done something, and now maybe we have a bit of a crack over there. So my plan of action is to take this off, or drain all the oil first, get this removed and take this to a place that can weld this area up for us, just to stop that oil leak, because there's quite a bit coming. I actually blew off this guy, which is a spacer that goes on our engine mount over here. But yeah guys, that's what I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna drain out all the oil, get that oil cooler off, and try and get it repaired. I later decided not to drain out the oil. I came up with a plan to stuff the oil line with a paper towel. Then I could hang the oil line facing upwards with a zip tie, and that should minimize any oil spillage. Then I can just do the same thing on the other side, and this should hold up just fine until I get the oil cooler back. I've drained out most of the oil from this guy, and my suspicions were correct, guys. So if you have a closer look, right over there you'll see there's a crack, and that thing goes all around this guy. So I'm gonna send this off, get it welded right over there, and hopefully when we get it back we shouldn't have any more leaks. Okay, so while the oil cooler is gone, let me show you guys what's in this box. Alright, so first thing I see when I open the box, I've got a note here that says a certified mechanic installation is required. So I don't know where that leaves us, but I'll definitely be installing this. Looking inside the envelope, we've got a thank you card right over there. I believe this is my invoice, and then we've got a bunch of stickers. So I'm gonna put all of this to the side, because what we're really interested in is that guy over there. So I believe just to open the, woo! What? Sheesh. Okay guys, let me show you this thing properly. I'm gonna put it to the side like that. Woo. Check that out, guys. Woo. What? Okay guys, we've got our brand new front wheel for the R1, guys. This thing looks so stunning, guys. This is like a direct OEM replica. It's not made of magnesium, but it's made of alloy. That's the only difference. But as far as the way it looks, this is a direct replica, guys. This thing looks so good, man. I can't believe the quality on this thing, guys. We've got a rough surface here and a smooth one on the outside, and the finish is just insane, guys. I'm really happy with this, guys. This company, Arashi, check them out, guys, if you're looking for your front. I mean, this is not a sponsored buy or anything, but I'm just happy with how this wheel looks, guys. And obviously I went for black. I think that's going to give away a lot of things, but yeah, we've got a black rim. They also have blue ones, which would match this one over here, but I opted for black. It comes with bearings installed. It's got a spacer inside. There's an option that also has rotors that comes with the rim, but I've got rotors, so I didn't need that option. But this thing, guys, whew, man, I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to get this thing on this bike. First to go on is this thin metal plate, which is sandwiched between the rotor and the rim. Once I've got the rotor on the rim, I can put some Loctite on each of the 5 bolts required to hold the rotor down. Then I can start bolting everything down and torque all the bolts down to spec in a star pattern. I noticed that I was missing bolts for the left rotor along with the ABS ring, so I decided to take this front wheel off so I could fully strip it and make use of all the hardware that I needed. This is why it's always good to always keep your old parts, because you never know what you might need. Once I got everything off, I could get a much better look at the damage on this rim. And check this thing out. Completely destroyed. Time to assemble the left side, and again, thin metal plate on first, then the brake rotor, then the bolt securing the rotor can go on with some Loctite. Then we can start tightening up all the 5 bolts down to spec, again in a star pattern. Since this is the left side, we also need to make sure we mount up the ABS ring. And here you can kind of see me checking and making sure that I put it the right side up. Once that is on, the 5 bolts that are holding it down can also get some Loctite before I start tightening them up by hand. I've got the complete wheel assembled, time to get a tire on. I headed over to Just Bike Tire so they can help me throw on a tire on this brand new rim. First thing we did was swap out the rubber valve stem for a 90-degree metal stem. Then the tire can go on and we can finally get the wheel balanced. Everything was going well until we noticed that one of the rotors wasn't spinning straight. You can see it wobbling here, so it looks like I'm gonna have to get this straightened because we definitely can't put the wheel on like that. Alrighty guys, we're back, but not back from putting on the tire. It's actually been about 2 weeks. I've been away on holiday, but I'm back, I'm rested, and I'm feeling energized, and I'm ready to actually finish up this R1. So back to where we left off. I don't know if you guys could tell when we're doing the wheel balancing, but I noticed that this rotor was wobbling a little bit, which was indicating to me that this guy might have been bent. So because I've been gone for so long, I actually got this repaired. You can actually see where it was bent, where they made marks here. This is everywhere where they had to correct it. But this thing is all good right now. Both sides are straight and we shouldn't have any issues with the rotors. I also got that oil cooler welded and tested, and that guy should be all good. We shouldn't have any more leaks, and this is ready to go on the bike. I also got that link pipe sorted out, so it should line up with the headers perfectly now, and we can finally get rid of this damaged one. So let me not waste any more time and get those parts on the bike. I started with the exhaust since this would be the most easiest, or at least I thought. I thought I was having fitment issues again, but it seemed like the jack was in the way, so I decided to put on the front wheel so I could lower the bike and remove the jack. Once the jack was out of the way, the link pipe slid right into place. Then I could bolt on the tailpipe and start securing the exhaust down for good. Since I had the front wheel on, I decided to mount up the brake calipers and install the brake lines. I did the same thing on the left side, and I also fitted the ABS sensor. And then the last thing to do is to put on these pinch bolts, which I will tighten a little bit later. Finally, I can put on the oil cooler, and hopefully we shouldn't have any more oil leaks coming from this guy. Then the last thing to do was to mount up the upper triple with the ignition and the immobilizer back on the forks and tighten everything up. Guys, we're definitely getting somewhere with this bike. Everything went on super nicely, exactly the way it should, guys. We've got this mid pipe over here that aligned perfectly to the headers. This thing didn't give me any issues, so I'm happy with that. And it looks so much better than the one that was previously on here. I've got the oil cooler mounted up as well. This thing is on there snug. Everything has been tightened up, so we shouldn't have any leaks from this guy. And then, guys, we've got our stunning brand new front wheel finally mounted on the bike, guys. This thing is looking super nice, guys. You would literally never tell that this is an aftermarket wheel if I didn't tell you. I'm really happy with the fitment of this thing. I even started putting on the calipers. I've got the ABS sensor on the other side. Everything on the front here has been mounted up. I just haven't tightened everything just yet, but we're looking good so far, guys. So now that we've got everything mounted on the bike, guys, I need to make this front end functional, because at the moment we've got no brakes. That's because we're missing a brake reservoir container for the front, along with the piping that goes to the master cylinder, and we still haven't hooked up the brake lines that go from the master cylinder to the two front brakes. This right control switch is missing the start button along with the menu wheel. This left control switch is also looking a bit scuffed up, but mainly missing a button here. Now over here, I've got everything that I need to sort out all the things that I just showed you guys. Firstly, we've got a replacement right side control switch that I picked up on eBay. This thing is still looking brand spanking new. The only damage that's on this thing is this connector right over here. As you guys can see, got damaged. So my plan is to depin these pins that are on here and use the connector that's currently on that switch. Then I've got the left side control switch, which isn't looking as good as the right side, but I'm gonna make this work. So if you remember, on this bike we're literally just missing the mode button, and we've got some scuffs on this case. So my plan is to move some things around, so take some buttons from the control switch that's on the bike and then move them over to this one. You'll see that we're also missing the hazard switch over here, so I'm going to take the one that's on the bike and then move it over to that guy. Once I've done all of that, this should look a whole lot better. And then finally I picked up something from Yamaha. So we've got this bracket that routes the clutch cable. So this just mounts up on the upper triple, and we should also be able to mount up our brake reservoir on this bracket. And then we've got our levers. I'm going to be replacing the ones that are currently on the bike with these brand new all black adjustable and foldable levers. I really like these ones. So yeah, these are gonna go nicely with how I'm gonna kind of style the bike a little bit later. And then lastly, we've got our brake reservoir container. I didn't go with OEM because I kind of actually like these smoked containers. These are really stealthy and all that stuff. They'll go nicely with the black and the theme that I'm kind of going for. And then we've got the hose that's going to go to the master cylinder. We've got the bracket, the bolts that we need to attach this thing, and the clamps for the hose. So quite a bit of parts over here, but hopefully once we've got everything fitted, we should have a functioning front end. I'm starting with the right control switch, which also houses the throttle position sensors, so the entire throttle needs to come off. Once I've unhooked all the wires on the left side, the whole unit can be removed. Time to start depinning. Most connectors secure the pins in a similar way, so I first start by trying to find the locking mechanism in the connector. Once that's out, I can go to each pin and push out the clip that's holding the pin in place. This will allow me to pull out the wire without damaging the pin or the connection from the wire to the pin. I do that for all 6 wires, then I can have the connector by itself. Next step is to now move over wires from the damaged connector to the good one. Once all the wires have been repinned, I can put the connector back together and start assembling the whole switch back on the bike. I made sure to align the locating pin on the switch to the hole on the handlebar, then I can tighten up the switch with the 4 bolts required. Only thing left to do was to plug in all the wires, then I can move on to the left control switch. All I needed to do here was undo 2 bolts and the switch can come off. I opened up the most damaged switch so I can figure out how I'm gonna move the buttons over. It seemed like everything was very modular and each module was held down by a screw or 2. All I needed to do was remove the module that had the button that I needed, then I can move over the button to the switch I wanted to use. And some buttons didn't even require me to disassemble the switch. Once I've got everything the way I wanted it to, I can finally put the switch back on the bike by aligning the locating pin to the hole on the handlebar and tightening up the 2 bolts. Last thing I need to do is to get the front brakes working. I mount up the brake reservoir container to this bracket, which I will later remove. Then I hook up the hose that's going to take our brake fluid from the reservoir to the master cylinder. I then started to fill up the reservoir with brake fluid in an attempt to try and bleed the brakes. A lot of newer bikes equipped with ABS modules require a special bleeding process to ensure that you have zero air in the lines so the ABS can work effectively. I tried it the manual way and quickly realized that I was going to need help. I needed some sort of a wind to help me feel better, so I moved on to replacing the clutch lever instead. I needed to sort out the brakes at some point, so the guys at Just Bike Tire said they could help me out since they've got a pneumatic brake bleeder. How this works is that instead of pumping air out the normal way, the pneumatic brake bleeder sucks air out of the system. And because the brake lines run along the bike to the ABS module, there's a lot of air that needs to be removed from the system. All the bubbles you're seeing is air being sucked out. And this seemed to be working because we started getting a brake feel. We've got brakes. Yeah, it's also looking good. After seeing that we're heading in the right direction, the guys kept going around the bike over and over, and we started seeing less and less air bubbles coming out from the system. I'll probably still need to do a complete ABS bleeding sequence, but for now, we at least have the brakes working. While I was there, we also started fitting on a brand new chain on the bike. If you've been watching from the beginning, you'll remember that I cut the chain that was on this bike, and that's because my plan was to get a master link so I can reuse the chain and sprockets that came with this bike. But since the chain was OEM, I couldn't find a master link that would work with that chain. So my plan for now, even though I know some of you guys are gonna come for me, is to change out the chain and reuse the same sprockets that came with the bike. We've got the chain on and the bike now has brakes. That means the bike is officially rideable. Massive shout out to the guys at Just Bike Tire for coming to the rescue when I needed a helping hand. Alrighty guys, I'm back and I must say I am dying to get on this thing. Like I said, this bike is technically rideable right now. The two biggest things that were stopping me was not having brakes, and we didn't have a chain on this bike. So now that both of those things are sorted out, I just want to get on this thing and see if it'll move on its own power. So just so that we're on the same page, this will be an initial test ride, so don't expect any ripping around or anything like that. I just want to see if this bike can move by itself and if there's anything that I need to look out for, because I don't even have the tail section hooked up just yet. This seat is just floating on here just so I can sit somewhere, and we don't even have a tail light at the back there, let alone indicators. So I literally can't take this bike on the public road, so I'm just gonna go around somewhere close just so I can get a feel for this bike. So yeah, let me go grab my helmet and then I'll catch you guys on the road.
A few moments later.
No leaks. What? Alrighty guys, we have stopped. I hope you guys can hear me because I've got my helmet on, but this thing is insane guys. This thing is insane. It sounds so good. Like, just listen to this guys. Hopefully the camera picks it up. What? No ways guys. It even shoots flames. Like what? No ways guys. This thing is out of this world. Woo! I can't wait to put the fairings all there so I can take this thing on the highway and fully rip it. What? Ah guys, the R1 is alive! Let me head back to the house. I almost got ran over by a car because I'm actually filming in the middle of the road here. So let me head home. But this thing is too nice guys. I'll catch you guys back at the garage. Okay, let's go guys. No ways guys, this thing, I swear if I was doing a test ride at a dealership, I'd have my card out right now. Yeah, I think it's safe to say the first test ride was successful. There's literally only a few little things that I picked up on the test ride, and the first one is the clutch. I think that needs to be adjusted a little, but otherwise it's working good. And then I picked up that the idle was bouncing a little bit, not all the time but in some cases, but I think that might also have something to do with that performance air filter that we put on, because this bike never had one, so that ECU might need to be flashed. But other than that, I'm really happy with how this bike rides. I really can't fault it with anything right now, well, apart from the obvious. So now that we've ensured that this bike is mechanically sound and it can move on its own power, it's time to make it look like an R1. And in that box is exactly what we need to do that. I can't tell you guys how much I've been dying to open up that box and finally dress up this R1. But sadly, we're gonna have to do that in the next episode, guys, because there's some more things that I wanna do to this bike. But if you like how this build has come along, guys, if you enjoyed watching me get this bike up and running in this episode, smash that like button, hit the subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.